all the time in the world for us. So, and before we get to Mahmoud and Kristen, obviously we have a really good – it's our last one of the summer. Really excited. Obviously everybody's showing their faces today, which is great. But Pat we're incredibly fortunate to have him just open it up and hopefully, give us some words of inspiration and whatnot, even though he's just on a 3-hour call. I'm sure he got all kinds of good and bad news at the same time. But, if you don't know Pat, he's currently the athletic director of Washington State. And, like many of you guys, he's groundbreaking in the fact that he was the first Asian-American athletic director in the Power Five. So we're super lucky to have you, Pat. Pat, we're going to let you take it away. Inspire us, buddy.
Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate Coach and Coach Yang for the invitation to be a part of this. Although I have not spent actually, I think I met Coach Magpayo face-to-face when we played here in Pullman. But congratulations, speaking of Trailblazers, on what you've been able to accomplish. Our basketball coach here, Kyle Smith, takes credit for Coach Magpayo. Mm-hmm. That means you're good when other people take credit for you. But he's also very proud of you. And, I think as a community, the only thing I express to Coach is, hey, we're all here to support you because we're all in the same situation as, we failed if we don't create another opportunity for someone else. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing that we got that we need to continue to look for. So thank you guys for doing this. Thank you guys for creating this community, this forum. We are all in sports. So you guys know firsthand, we are actually the minorities of the minorities. So there's power in community, there's power in group. And what you guys have done here, whether you know it or not, you're creating some power. You guys are trailblazers. You guys are onlys. You guys are doing things that there really is no roadmap in front of you. So one, really, I know you guys have a full agenda today, but I just want, as someone who's an administrator, I've spent, just so you guys know, I've spent over, I guess, how old am I now? Maybe 25 years in college athletics. My parents are immigrants from South Korea. We're the total stereotype. My dad was a Taekwondo instructor. My mom still works at the local grocery store. So that's my upbringing. I know we'll probably hopefully spend some time when you guys get up and running again. But it is imperative what you guys are doing right now, especially as an administrator of this studying of your craft. Every great head coach I've been around, every great assistant coach, every great leader, anyone who is committed to being great really studies their craft. And I salute you guys for doing that. Growth mindset is an action, not just a phrase. And when you guys make time for this, and we're all zoomed out in today's society, you're really showing the action of growth mindset. Learning takes you on this wonderful road to discovery. You're able to see how far your wings can stretch, and whether you know it or not, when you go out and learn and stretch your wings, you're actually bringing yourself closer to your destiny. So the only words I'm going to leave with you is, as you head back to your teams, I just want to remind you of a couple quick things, and these are things I tell our coaches all the time here at Washington State. Number one, the essence of leadership is serving others. You always gain more by giving, and you guys are in the ultimate leadership role. Not only do you have to lead in the respective seat you sit in on your respective teams, but you also got to contribute and build leaders in your basketball players, which is easier said than done. And the challenge is, no matter what age they are immense, but it's part of what leadership is, and that's about serving and helping others. And I think that's why this group actually got started, because you got a couple coaches that wanted to serve and help others and build something. And just always remind yourselves as coaches, you have a sacred role in the lives of young people, and you serve these young people. So one, always be honored that you have such a huge responsibility, because so many people in life don't want to bear the brunt of responsibility. They don't want to have the responsibility of having to impact others and try to get people to perform at levels that when they wake up in the morning, they don't think they can perform at. So own it, love it, live it, and just remind yourself your jobs, when you're trying to coach and teach and provide guidance, mentorship, love, care to all these young people you serve, that is a powerful role. And maybe even today, where we sit in 2020, maybe more needed than ever. And lastly, and most especially for this group of wonderful professionals here, just reminder, and this is something I live by every day. It's the most important word in my life, and it's the word believe. And just remember, what you believe is what you become. What you believe is what you become. And the secret to your success has been and will always be you. So that person you wake up and see in the morning, whatever you have to do to get game day ready, make sure you get game day ready, because what you believe is what you become. And if you believe that you can be an enlightened leader, if you believe you can help your teams, if you believe you're built for a higher purpose on this planet, I promise you those will come true, because what you believe will be followed by your actions. And as coaches, trust me, I know you guys make plans for everything. So I appreciate your time. I look forward to spending more time with you guys in the future. This is what the great ones do. They grind. You know, it's 2:39 on a Wednesday afternoon on the West Coast here, and you guys are grinding. You're trying to learn. You're trying to discover. You're trying to find a tool to add your tool belt. And you know what, guys? That's where greatness comes from. So I appreciate, on behalf of at least this college administrator, thank you guys for working on your craft. I look forward to meeting you guys face to face soon. I'm easy to find. My email is on our website, and I'm on Twitter, so I'm easy to find. But I appreciate the opportunity, and good luck to you guys, and good luck to all your seasons. Kick some butt this year. I'm going to be looking forward to watching the guys that I've met on this Zoom and women to see how you guys perform this year.
Hey, Patrick, I just want to tell you have an awesome women's coach, Cammie Etheridge.
She's the best.
She's one of my favorites.
Yeah, mine too.
She's going to do a great job for you.
Thank you.
Great hire.
Thanks, Pat. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good meeting.
Thank you
Thanks,
again.
Pat. Thank you.
Well, that was really cool. I wrote down everything he said. Before we get started, I'm not going to be able to close this thing out because my wife, I got to get her on board with the Asian Coaches Association herself. She set our doctor's appointment for 4:50, so I might have to slide out of here early. But just a couple quick messages. Steve and I, before we started this Zoom in the summer, we were talking about, like, what do we represent? What are Asian coaches? And it's really cool because Pat just said it. And we already embodied within the Asian cultures, all of our different Asian cultures. We have honor, just what Pat just said. We have integrity, and then we have the discipline and dedication to. He called it grind, but that's just what we do. That's just who we are. That's many of us were raised like that, to have the discipline and dedication to strive for greatness. So, if for us, it's performing at a higher level than the generation before, and hopefully the next generation after that, and the next generation after that. So. I just wanted to leave you guys with that. I'm obviously thrilled that we've gotten to the level that we've gotten to. And then today we have Kristen and Mahmoud. And the coolest thing of all is the engagement that you guys have shown. And Aaron Katsuma at Colorado State, who's already spoken on our Zooms early, like 3-4 weeks ago. He's going to be moderating. So thank you guys again. And Aaron, the floor is yours, buddy.
All right. No, appreciate that, Mike and Steve. At first I just want to start by thanking both of you guys and Anthony and G for, giving us this platform to learn and grow and share our experiences. And so I'm personally very grateful, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are that are on here. And I have the great privilege of introducing Kristen. Kristen, you're going to have to help me with your last name because I still am fumbling with it even as I sit here. Iwanaga. Kristen Iwanaga. She's entering her 5th season as an assistant at Santa Clara University. Prior to that, she was at Cal Poly for 7 years, where they won 3 conference championships. And then prior to that, you were an assistant or a varsity head basketball coach. And she was a 4-time letter winner at Cal, where she holds multiple records. And so not only a great player in her day, but also a great coach who has continued to move up in this profession. And so without further ado, Kristen, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. I'm just going to share my screen real quick with you guys. I'm going to talk a little bit about special situations today, but first I'll just give a little background. I know Aaron gave a little bit, but I started off playing in Asian League basketball, actually. That's how I got started. And then I played at Archbishop Mitty High School. It's a pretty well-known school for basketball here in Northern California. I actually played with Carrie Nakamoto, who's the head coach at Alaska Fairbanks. I think she's on the call as well. But we played together in high school. We won a state championship. We actually beat Diana Taurasi's team to go 31-0 and win the state championship. From there, I went on to play at Cal, and I was a 4-year captain. and a 4-year starter at Cal. Fortunate enough to break some records, like Aaron mentioned. I broke Pac-12 records for free throw percentage for my career. I shot 89% over my career, 94% my senior year, and then I also shot 52% my senior year from the three-point line. And so you'll see that graphic to the side there. It's talking about the 50-40-90 club. And I really didn't know what that was when I was playing. I obviously made it into that club. I'm still only the only player in the Pac-12 on the 50-40-90 club. But you'll see there when Kelsey Plum was trying to be the second player into that club, she was averaging 31 points. And so this just kind of shows how many points people were averaging. The most points is Sue Bird. So anytime you can be mentioned in the same breath as Sue Bird, you know you're in great company. And so from there, I went right into my coaching career. And I started off at Archbishop Mitty High School, and I was the JV assistant coach and the varsity assistant coach. And I was fortunate enough to work for my high school coach, Sue Phillips, who's a great mentor of mine and still a friend of mine today. I worked under her. I was fortunate enough to actually coach Danielle Robinson, who's currently in the WNBA. She's the point guard for the Las Vegas Aces. So coached her for 1 year in high school. And then from there, I was hired at St. Francis High School in Watsonville. And I became the head coach there for 3 seasons. It was a new school, small school, only 200 kids. So I was just kind of starting the program there. In my second year, we were fortunate enough to win the league. We made it to the Elite 8 of state, which had never been done in the history of the school just because it was so new and we were so small. From there, I was fortunate enough to reconnect with Carrie Nakamoto. Carrie was the associate head coach at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I worked under Faith Mimna, who's been the head coach at Cal Poly for now 25 years. But I was fortunate to work under her for 7 years. Like Aaron said, we won 3 Big West championships. We went to the postseason 4 years. First ever NCAA tournament in school history, which was really exciting, and fortunate enough to coach 3 different player of the years in that conference. From there, I was able to come back to the Bay Area, kind of where I'm from, and coach at Santa Clara University. I've been here for the last 4 years under Coach Carr, working with Michael Floyd and Taylor Carr as well. So we've been here the last 4 years, just trying to move up the ranks in the tough WCC conference. When Steve asked me to speak, I decided to choose special situations. I'm really passionate about this. I'm interested in, all different special situations, working on them, going over them in practice. And so these are a couple that I'll talk about. I'll give you some plays and stuff like that. The first one I'll talk about is just the jump ball. Obviously, it happens one time a game. Maybe if you go to overtime, it happens twice. But the situation is just, do you want to be on an offensive tip or a defensive tip? And so if you're going to win the tip, you got to know what you're going to run. What exactly you're going to get into. Is your team already know they're going to run some sort of quick hitter? Or are you going to get into some ball screen, run your continuity offense? If you're more on the defensive side, you have a smaller lineup, okay, then you want to know how you want to start the game defensively. And I just drew up some here. We kind of started off in this kind of alignment this year just because, just because both our centers got injured this year. So we started smaller lineup. So we would line up in the more defensive side. Now we have a 6'7" center, a transfer from UCLA who's eligible to play. So we might go more on the offensive side of the tip and be real aggressive, put 2 shooters, a 2 and a 3 in the corner, maybe tip to our 1 and then be able to attack from there. This is one that we ran at Cal Poly a little bit, actually. We do this every once in a while where we tip to our 2, we'd attack, and we'd set this little back screen for our center to either get a layup, or we could always kick to the 3 in for a layup. So those are just some of the quick hitters we'd run right out of a tip just to get a quick, easy score. Next part I'm going to talk about is end of quarter. So in the women's game, we play 4 quarters. So a lot of the end of the quarter, we're talking about 2 for 1. Okay, and we practice this situation. The key is you have to practice this situation. You might want to have a call for it. When it's in the flow of the game, it's getting around that 50, 45-second mark. You might want to go into it. I've heard people call it 21, where they're just yelling 21, and our players know what play they're going into and that they're going 2 for 1. And then the last key is obviously knowing the timing. We talk about it as soon as it gets under that 1 minute mark. like I said, that 50, 45-second mark is a real good indicator for us that we want to go 2 for 1. And I'll show you some examples here in the next slide, some video of us, executing that. The other situation is the last shots. When you get the last shot, it's kind of obvious, but you don't want to shoot too early and give the other team another opportunity. But we really had to practice this. There's some games, where we started shooting too early, 4 or 5 seconds left on the clock, give the opportunity for the other team, to get another shot off. We've been bit in the butt a little bit one time where, we shot too early, the other team got it, they end up hitting a half court 3, and they kind of take that momentum into halftime or at the end of the quarter. So I think it's key, I've heard people say last shot or no shot. It could be even better if you're not even getting a shot off at the end of the quarter, because at least the other team, isn't getting that opportunity and that momentum taker. And then another situation to consider is fouls to give. You want to use those fouls again. We're in the quarter, so at the 5th foul we're shooting. But if we're below that at the end of the quarter, we would consider fouling the other team. It just helps kind of stop their momentum, maybe stop the play. They're getting into their set. Now we foul them. They've got to get on the inbound on the side and maybe change their play call. Maybe then that's when we change defense. And another key for that I put on there is have a play call for when you foul. I'm sure Taylor, I think, is on the call. My other assistant, she's probably laughing because at one point, I thought everyone knew, like, take one, meaning take a foul, right? When we're yelling that and we have a foul to give and our team does not foul because they have no idea what that means. So I think a key is, if we have a foul to give, you have a play call for that. Maybe it's red when you want to foul. And so here's a situation I'll show you. We're playing Cal, and there's about 50 seconds on the clock when Cal has the ball and shoots it. And previous to this play, there was a free throw. So I think we're talking about our team as it gets close again to that 1 minute mark about, getting into our 2 for 1 situation. So you'll see here, this is the end of half where Cal shoots. And okay, we get the rebound with 46 seconds left. So our team knows, okay, we've got to go quick. We've got to go 2 for 1 at the end of this half here. Okay, so our point guard ends up getting in. She pushes hard, and we're just looking to get something in transition here. She ends up pushing so down hard, and we get that shot off. Now you'll see Cal takes a little longer to inbound. We made that with about 35 seconds. They inbound it, and there's still a differential here. So now our team knows, Cal's probably not going to shoot it with 0 time on the clock here. So they're getting into their set, and you'll see they shoot a little early, and we're aware of the situation because we knew we wanted to try and get this 2 for 1. Okay, again, they shoot with about 10 seconds. We get the rebound, and now you'll see with 8 seconds, we can go in transition and execute this. Okay, this next one that we went 2 for 1 was at the end of the Davis game, actually. And when I go back, there's about 42 seconds left on the clock. You'll see we're down by 3. And so we called timeout. So this is when we kind of set it up at the end of the game, as opposed to like end of the quarter. It's usually in the flow. We're going 2 for 1. Our team knows that. This is at the end of the game when there's 42 seconds on the clock. We're inbounding on the side. And we're going to run this play. We're just going to run a ball screen with our 5. Our 5's going to roll, and our 4 is kind of just going to replace. So you'll see here, we inbound it. We want to go quick because we're down 3, but we're going to go for this 2. And you'll see one more time here. We score with about 35 seconds left on the clock. So yeah, 35 seconds left on the clock, and that's when, Davis, now we're only down 1. Davis will call timeout, advance it, but we end up getting a stop, and then later on I'll show you the end of game play that we run, but we have 5 seconds left to get that when we're only down 1. So those were well executed 2 for 1s that we ran at end of quarter, also at end of game, but these are things we definitely use in practice. The next part I'm talking about is just the last shot. So the last shot of you know, a quarter, last shot of the game, you know, you want to use all the time. You don't want to give opportunity for the other team to score. A lot of times at end of quarter, we'll go into our horn series. Okay, a lot of teams run it, but our team is really comfortable with knowing the timing. So we'll start this play with about 6 or 7 seconds left on the clock, just so and that's how we know that, you know, that's the timing of our play. With 6 or 7 seconds, we're starting the action. Our point guard's coming off. This first play of our horn series is just kind of the traditional horns. We're coming off our 5, attacking. Our 5 is rolling. Okay, our 4 is coming high on that reversal. And so you'll see here, it's against Pacific, but we get the rebound and we actually push. And so it's less than 30 seconds. This guard pushes it up, but realizes, hey, we need to take the last shot. Okay, so we set up, we get the play call in, and now she's gonna wait. She's gonna wait until about, you'll see about, it's right at 7 seconds. She's about to start going. We like to go around 6 or 7 seconds. Oops, sorry about that. And you'll see she's gonna come off this ball screen. She comes off, we end up reversing. Okay, and we get that right at the buzzer. So that was good execution, again, of a last second play. Our players are really comfortable with the horn series, so I'll show you one more that we run. This one is also, we use this ball screen here. So the 1 comes off the 5 ball screen. She does have the option of turning the corner anytime we run the horn series, anytime she comes off the ball screen. So that's an option here. Okay, but in this one, our 4 and 5 are gonna double away. Our 4 and 5 are double away. Our 3 is gonna cut off and actually curl off this first one. And this is a scoring cut here. So we could hit the 3 here just for an easy lay-in if the defense falls asleep. But we're really looking for this 4 player actually to help in. So then you'll see here, our 5 then will pin down and our 4 player will come up for a 3. So I'm gonna show you the play. We get the stop, we push it up. And so again, we'll run this action probably with 8 or 9 seconds left. We'll come off. Okay, this girl's actually supposed to, like I said, curl the 1. She kind of comes off both, but you'll see the 5 does a good job of screening in. And you see the 5 does a good job screening in. The point guard kind of occupied that girl coming off the ball screen, and now we're able to hit our shooter at the end of the quarter. So I'll just show the whole action without stopping it.
Coach Kristen, we have a question. Your first question from Coach Meg Pyle when you're done.
Okay. Yeah.
Is horns just does the whole team know that horns is the play you're running and the clock?
Yeah, so these ones have different play calls, but like traditional horns we call horns. This play we call something else, but usually that's the play series that will go to end of clock. So end of quarter, they'll know that we're gonna go to some sort of horns action. And our team's really comfortable because we've timed these plays. We know they know how much time each one kind of takes to develop. And so they're just really comfortable with that series kind of end of clock situations.
We have another question as well. Matthew, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. I was just curious. First, thanks for taking the time today.
Of course.
I was just curious about how much time you dedicate in practice to special situations.
Yeah, so we dedicate probably 15 to 20 minutes of our time special situations. We try and mix it in throughout practice. I know some people like to do it at the end of practice, but sometimes at the end, that practice plan sometimes gets cut short. When I was a high school head coach, I probably did it for about 30 minutes. I did it a little longer, just because I thought they needed the more preparation, more time spent on it. And I'll show you some things that we did to work on special situations here in a little bit. We had these things called situation cards, but we used those when I was a head coach to practice those special situations. Okay, I'll go to the next slide here. Okay, timeout. So after timeouts, I think a key is organizing the timeout. So you should sit and stand in certain places. So you'll see here our head coach is in the middle and we're sitting. Our point guard sits in the middle, and then we have our 2 and 3 guards here, and then our 4 and 5. Just so that when our head coach is looking, he's looking straight ahead. He's talking to the point guard. He can turn and look one way and give the guards direction, and then maybe look the other way and give the post directions. I've also seen it where these players stand behind. So if these are the 2s and 3s, the 2s and 3s would stand behind. The point guard stands behind your point guard in the post. So then when, the coach is talking to the players, he's looking at all of them and not just, having to constantly turn their head. So I've seen that as well. And then I think reminders are key. I think probably the first 10 to 15 seconds of the timeout, the kids take in the information. And then after that, I'm not so sure how much they're absorbing. So I know after timeouts, as we're coming out of a timeout, I work a lot with the point guard. So I'll talk to them, reminding them what play we're running, maybe reminding them what defense they're in or what kind of scheme the other team's doing. I know Taylor, our other assistant, will talk to the wings, and Coach Floyd here will talk to the posts. And so we'll all kind of shoot little reminders at them as they're coming out of the timeout. Another key is adjustments. I think you got to make adjustments coming out of timeout, whether offensively you're going to run a quick hitter or you're going to adjust something in your play. If they're hedging ball screens, maybe now you're going to run a slip play and get that action. On the converse side, defensively, maybe you want to change your scheme just because the other team's drawn something up to come out of timeout and run. So maybe if you're in zone, now the other team's drawn up probably a zone play. Now you switch to man. Maybe you're hedging ball screens. Maybe you go to a quick trap, or if it's in the full court, maybe you throw a half court trap at them or full court press just for that possession. So we like to do that, kind of just switch it up after timeouts because the other team is coming out with some sort of play that they're running. And so here's one that we like to run. This is a sideline play we like to run kind of out of timeouts. I think you'll see here there's 2 minutes left against Pacific and we're down by 5. So this play kind of gives an option for a 2 or a 3. And so a lot of our sidelines will start in this box set and we'll come down. We'll set this down screen here and our 2 comes up. Okay, as it happens, she's dribbling at the 1 who came off the down screen and she's passing to her. Okay, once that happens, the 2 is then going to come off this flare screen. So a lot of times this kid's being trailed off the screen. They trail, the defensive momentum's coming this way, and now they're coming back off the flare, and we're looking here. And so I'll show you the play. You'll see the play here. She comes down, sets up down screen. And now we're looking to come off this flare screen. This girl is supposed to actually clear out to the corner, but she doesn't. Luckily, she doesn't really get in the way. I'll play it one more time without pausing it. Okay, she curls that flare and then is able to get that layup. She ends up getting the and one. Okay, the next key that I'm talking about is the baseline, out of bounds, and sideline. And so one key that I think is you got to have the same setup, the same look for at least 4 or 5 actions. So either the baseline, out of bounds, you're lined up in a box, maybe you line up in a line, a triangle, any kind of setup, but you want to make it look the same, and then you have multiple actions out of that set because it's going to be easier to scout if you only have 1 or 2 actions out of that set. And then another key is have a good inbounder. A lot of our plays, our point guard will inbound, but last year we had a really good center who was a really good passer. So sometimes we'd put her as the inbounder just because she had a good feel of what we're looking for and knew where to pass it. And so here's just a couple examples of setups that you could use. We use this box setup a lot for our inbounds. We got 10 to 15 sets out of this. We've used this one in the past as well. I used this one at Cal Poly when I was there, and then a line setup. The next one I'm going to show you is kind of one that I really like is this little stack here, and it's pretty simple action, but it kind of depends again on what the defense is doing. What is the defense going to do when you're in this little stack? If they're going to line up here, maybe I just make eye contact with the inbounder, and this is where your inbounder becomes key, you know, and the post player here comes key. But maybe they're just right here. I'm just going to give a little lob over the top, step back, and shoot that, right? Or, you know, maybe I come all the way back, and then I just quick duck in, you know, because this duck in is really hard to defend because, you know, the defenders are already on the baseline. And once we pass it in, you know, we should have that defender under the basket right on our back and be able to score. And then if, you know, if they want to then squeeze in between our little stack here, then we're going to screen. And we can screen on either side. We'll come off and then roll back. So just a little setup. There's obviously other things to run with different screening with the 2 and the 3 can come in, but this is just something simple with a little stack that has quite a few options. And then, like I said before, our sidelines, a lot of this comes out of this box set. So a lot of our sidelines, we have a lot of sideline plays that come out of this box. And so we'll set this little down screen. And you saw on the last one, we set the down screen. The point guard always has the option if her defender comes to the inside to abort the play, and then she just reads the defense, comes here for a shot. Okay, so at any time when the defense is going to come to the inside, our point guard can make that read and we pass to the corner for a shot. Oh. So you'll see here, we're in tournament at Fullerton. This is Montana. She comes to the inside. So our point guard's going to make that read and flare to that corner. I'll show it one more time without stopping. Okay, and then another action we'll do is that same down screen, but now we're gonna pin in the post. So once she sets this down screen and the point guard comes off, then we're gonna just do a quick duck in. So if we feel we have a mismatch with our 5 or our 4, we'll put them here, set this screen, and really try and duck in this post player right here. So you'll see it in a second. Also, another option is we always have the 3 cut through the middle. So you'll see here, sorry. Our guard doesn't do a great job of waiting for the screen. We want the guard to wait longer so our post can get deeper. But you'll see we still get decent action out of this. This defender, as this cut's happening, you'll see this defender helps in. So our post player, this is the kid I was talking about, our center, who's a really good passer, ends up kicking it out to our shooter for 3. So let's see it one more time. We would ideally like her to get a little deeper, but she makes a good pass out. You'll see this time, this is the same play, but you'll see we get deeper on our screen, and you'll see how we're right there for that shot, and that was end of game that we ran that. Show it one more time. The screen, pin her in, be able to get that shot. Okay, and then end of game. I think end of game, you just have to have your philosophy for these different situations, whether you're ahead, behind, or tied. So, you know, when you're ahead, when are you going to put your free throw shooters in, or your free throw shooting team, you know, your press breaking team? When are you going to start going offense, defensive substitutions? I think when you're behind, do you have a series that you can run when you're behind? We'll probably go to our drag series when we have a single drag or double drag, and we're just running those out of transition. And then with that, you know, do you have your pressing team in as well? So can this team score quick, but can they also have the ability to press and create turnovers? And then when you're tied, I think, you know, knowing what you're going to run, trying to use the whole clock. And then timeouts versus no timeouts. If you don't have any timeouts, do your players, again, know what you want to run? Do they know what you're going to go to? And then for us, advancing the ball. I think we always talk about whether we want to advance the ball or not under a minute. You know, if we're ahead and we get a defensive rebound and we know they're going to foul us. So we want to call timeout, or are we going to wait until they foul us and save that timeout? So that's always a discussion that we have. But players should just know what to do in all situations. I think having play calls and hand signals for all plays is important. I know we play at Gonzaga, and so if it's a sold-out crowd and it's a close game, there's no way that our players are going to hear our play calls, so we got to make sure that we have hand signals for them as well. And then, like I said before, play series for when you don't have any timeouts. And then keys to success. And this is where I'll show you some other kind of quick hitters for end of game. But I think you got to practice special situations every day, like I said before. Probably 15 to 20 minutes. When I was a head coach in high school, we did it for about 30. We did it a little longer because we use these things called situation cards, which I'll show you. I took that idea from Mike Neighbors. He does that. He's on the head coach on the women's side. But basically, I just made it into like a deck of cards, and I'll show you some examples. But you know, it just gives different situations. It could be anything from, you know, the last 5 minutes of the game. Each team has 2 timeouts. You know, white or red is up a certain amount, and it can go all the way down to, you know, maybe there's 2 seconds left. Red has the ball, and they're on the sideline. So these situation cards, which I'll show you in a second here, kind of just were fun for the kids, just because, you know, in high school we were just picking them in different situations that they want to go through. Like I said before, you got to time your play, so you have to know. I know sometimes I draw some up in practice and they take a little longer to develop, and we might run out of time, right? So that's how we know, okay, I can't run that with 7 seconds. I got to have at least 10 seconds on the clock. So time your plays. And then magic plays, I got this from Lynn Dunn, but she talks about this where these plays will work against man, they're going to work against zone, they're going to work against switching. And so I like this concept because, you know, I've gone out of a timeout and I've given my point guard 2 play calls. I give her a man call and a zone call. And I think that's probably, you know, it was hard for them in high school. The kids, you know, there's enough stress if we're down. She's got to know the time. Now she's got to figure out what defense they're in and then make the call, right? So I like this idea of magic plays where maybe we have just a series of a magic 1 through 5, and these are plays that we can run, and they're going to work against any defense. And here's an example. So I'm going to go through some examples of cards that you might pick. So this is one of them. So, you know, and we're practicing both sides, right? Red and white. And so we pick this card. You know, red's down 1 with 5 seconds. It's their ball on the sideline, and then you'll see the timeout situation, right? We still have a timeout. There's no fouls to give for white, so white, you're not going to be able to foul. So what are you going to run on the sideline when you're down by 1? And so here's an example of something we ran against Davis. Again, this is the end of that 2 versus 1 situation. So now we scored. I showed you the score. And now we got the stop. Now we've advanced it. There's 5 seconds left. And this is what we ran. So we ran that same down screen, and our point guard comes off. We hit our point guard, and she's going to quickly come off this ball screen. And you'll see that our 2 and our 4 space out. Our 4 can really shoot 3, so we use her as a spacer, and our 2 is a good shooter as well. So you'll see this girl ends up jumping the screen, so you see our point guard makes a good read and drives down the lane for that layup, and we end up winning. Play it one more time for you. So you see how the defense is all spread out. We come down the lane. Okay, here's another example. So here, again, another example. You pull this card in practice. All right, red's down 3 with 10 seconds. They have the ball on the sideline. And red still has a timeout, so you could consider going for a 2-pointer and then playing the fouling game and seeing if red can hit free throws. On the converse side, you know, white, you're up by 3. Do you foul and play the fouling game and play a free throw situation? So something to consider on both sides of the ball. So we pull this card, and here's a play that we ran. This is what we ran against Cal. So this is a different setup. We do have a couple other options off of this, but we're gonna line up along the 3-point line here, and then we're gonna come and set this triple screen. And just to kind of cause confusion, because you'll see against Cal, a lot of times they went to their smaller lineup just because they want to switch all screens. A lot of time at the end of games, when you don't want to give up a 3, you want to switch screens. So on this triple screen, well, who's going to switch? Who's going to switch where? You know, are you just switching the last screen? Are you going to switch these screens? So it's going to cause a little confusion. But 2's got to come off really hard. We're not really looking for her. If she's wide open, then we'll probably hit her. But then we're looking for the 4 coming back to the ball. 4 comes back to the ball, and now once 2's momentum came this way, now she's coming back off this little screen here for the 3. And you'll see against Cal, we run it, we execute it well. We don't end up hitting the shot. But you'll see already, she's already pointing, right? And she's telling her to switch. They get a little confused, they end up switching that one. And again, she gets caught looking, and now we're coming off this screen here for our 3. Show it to you one more time just so you can see it. So kind of just a little misdirection, get them looking, get a good shot off at the end. Then our players know we got to foul right away if we don't hit that. Okay, another situation we'll give you is, you know, now you're down 3, but it's less time on the clock, right? So maybe now white really might consider a foul, or maybe not. At this point, you probably have to go for a 3 instead of, you know, maybe going for 2 if there's more time on the clock, since we can advance it. So here we ran an elevator. And so this is where we had our big girl inbound it just because she's a good passer. So we didn't necessarily have our 3, but 2's going to come and fake this cross screen. So she's going to fake this cross screen here and come through this elevator screen and look for this 3. If she doesn't have that 3, we have the option of the 4 coming off this little screen from the 5. And like I said before, our 4 can really shoot 3s. So we could hit her on the wing. And so you'll see here, our 2, sorry about that, our 2 has a lot of space here, and she's going to be able to get a running start. So she gets a running start, and she's able to knock down that 3. You'll see the inbounder is key here because she passes it to her right on time, right when she's open to get that 3 off. She doesn't have much time. Okay, I'll go through a couple more. So tied. So tie game, you pull this card, 14 seconds. What are you gonna run? And so we wanna make sure we use the whole clock on this. We don't want much time left on the clock. It's hard because you gotta know white. So if you're on white, if you get the rebound or the other team scores, you want a timeout because it's tied. Now you can have an opportunity to either win the game, or then you gotta go and tie the game up with whatever score happens. And so you'll see here, we're playing St. Mary's. This time we're in the box set, but we're just trying to get the ball in bounds. Okay, with that much time, we're trying to use clock and then run our play. So we just get it in. Our point guard's got to be able to dribble around for a little while, and then we're going to come off this middle ball screen. We like a lot of ball screens with our point guard. We had a pretty good point guard, so we trusted her a lot with the ball in her hands. And so the point guard comes off this ball screen. As that happens, the 5's going to roll and the 4 is going to replace. Again, our 4 here, we put in this position. She just hit a couple of 3s, so now on the roll, is her defender going to help in, or is her defender going to rise up with her and stay? So we set the cross screen. Okay, we get it in. Our point guard's got to dribble around for a little bit until our timing again around 7 or 6 seconds. Okay, we go set the ball screen. And you'll see here as she rolls, this girl's gonna run with her. She's not gonna stop and help on this roll. We're able to hit our roller there for the shot. Show it one more time. Hit the roll for the shot. And you'll see we kind of leave too much time actually on the clock. There was, I think, 2.5 seconds left on the clock. And so, the other team has time to call timeout. They're going to advance the ball, and then you get into another situation in practice. Okay, this one, if you're down by 2. So this time it's white ball. They're down by 2, sideline. What are you going to run? And still, you still have your timeouts. And these situation cards obviously can say all kinds of things. There's millions of situations that you could be in. But this is something that we ran late in the game. This is again in the box set, but this time we're setting a double screen. We're going to set a double screen for our point guard. She's going to come off. We're going to hit our point guard off top. She can read this screen. If she's getting trailed, she could curl it. She's a scoring option off of this. But the second kind of action here is once the 1 gets the ball, 4 and 5 are setting another double screen for 2, and 2's coming off this hard. To catch it here, you'll see in this clip, Delaware has to switch this last screen, so we kind of get a mismatch. We get the post on a guard, and then we end with this flare screen. This is just going to help to occupy the defense. This is an option, but it's going to help occupy the defense, because now the defense is worried about, okay, I got to go over this flare screen. Am I going under? Are we switching it? Just some more action there for you. Okay, so you see our point guard comes off. She doesn't pass it in, but she gets that drive in for that layup. Okay, I'll show it one more time for you. Okay, the double screen. And again, you'll see they end up switching it. We set a good last screen here. They have to switch and come off. And we get that drive because these guys are occupied in that flare screen. Okay, I think I have 2 more for you. This one you're down, you're down 1 now. Down 1, sideline. Sideline plays come up a lot for us just because we can advance the ball. So we work a lot on sideline plays. But again, here's one we ran against Pacific. We seem to be in a lot of close games with them, but same box set. This time we set a cross screen for our 4, and our 4 catches around the elbow area. And now our 3, or in this case, we end up putting our point guard as the inbounder, comes off for a fake handoff. So all game earlier, we're running this where it's a handoff, handoff, handoff. Now we're going to go to a fake handoff for our 4 to be able to drive it in and score. You'll see here we get a decent shot. Our 4 catches. She fakes it. She probably gets too far under the rim, but she gets a good shot off. I'll show it one more time for you. Fake, because maybe they were supposed to switch there. She probably should have just went up for a little floater. But we get a good shot off there. And then I think this is the last situation card I put on here, but now you're up. Now you have the ball, you're up by 1. What are you going to run? Again, are you putting in all your free throw shooters? Inbounder here is key. And then you're obviously practicing the free throw situations. Once White has to foul, now you got to do free throw box outs. Is Red on the line, or are you going to take them off the line? When White gets the rebound, they probably want to call timeout and advance the ball and set up their play. So a variety of situations for both teams to consider. Here's something that we run just on the sideline. We'll put our inbounder, and our inbounder obviously varies. We put our best passer here, and then we put our 2, someone we trust a lot, because 2 has a lot of options here. 2 can, if the defender's on the side right here and 2 can just cut and get open, we're going to trust her to do that. She could also fake screen and come back to the ball, which she does in this clip here. Or she could also, set the screen here, and 1 has the option, if she cuts high, then 2 is going to reverse seal and come low. Or vice versa. If 1 reads it and cuts low, then 2 is going to come high, reverse seal. Most of the time they're going to be switching, so a lot of times this 2 player is going to be open. Now we've seen here where, maybe they only put 1 defender. So they'll put 1 defender here, and they'll add this defender down here. In that case, towards the end, once this play kind of starts developing, the 4 will cut here, and the 5 will cut right over here. And so we've used this. We've had to use the 4 as an outlet before because they've tried to overload and use that extra defender and only guard these guys with one. And so we'll use that cutting action so that kind of negates that a little bit. But you'll see two fakes that screen. She ends up taking it in for a layup. But it kind of just gives us some options here, depending on how they guard it. But we get that in pretty easy. We just like to leave it open for these two players, not as much congestion if we're bringing more players into the front court. And then last thing, I know other people did it, so just book recommendations that I had. I just finished Relentless by Tim Grover. He's Kobe Bryant's trainer, and Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade just talked about what made them great. The other one is Beta Ball for you Warriors fans, just how they rebuilt their team. They went from, the bottom of the NBA, rebuilt their culture when they got rid of Monte Ellis, and they kept Steph Curry kind of with some drama. Mark Jackson took him to the playoffs, and they got rid of him, got Steve Kerr, and kind of that thought process. The Wisnard series is a good book. It's created by Kobe Bryant, just kind of a fun read. And then the other three are just books that I've read with our team. So we read the energy bus at Cal Poly. I also read it with our Santa Clara team. And then the no complaining rule. When we first went into quarantine, one of my players asked for a book because we thought, they were going home for 2 weeks, not 5 months. And so I gave her the no complaining rule to read. And then the last one is the team captain's leadership manual. And I did that as a player, I think maybe because I was voted captain as a freshman. My coaches were probably like, she's going to need some help here. So I read that as a player, and then now I read it with my players. So I'm going through it right now with my point guards, and I know Taylor's going through it with the wings, and our post coach, Michael Floyd's going through it with the posts. So just a good book for your whole team to read. Doesn't have to be the captains. And then here's my contact information if you guys have any questions. If you want me to share the slideshow with you, I can do that as well. Guess I'll
Awesome.
stop sharing.
Awesome. That was really, really great stuff. I think Chad has a question for you, Coach.
Hi, Coach. Just want to say thank you for sharing all that. My question is, when you practice these special situations, I used to do that when I was playing high school, and I do it with my team now, but do you do it also when it's more than a one possession game? Like say you're down by 4 or 5 also?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. So there's some, you can either decide to do it, or some of the situation cards are, 4-minute game, 5-minute game, and all different scenarios, right? It could be 5 minutes left in the game and you're down by 8, 4 minutes and it's tied. So the situation cards can go on, to infinite amount. Or, if you just decide at Santa Clara, we just decide what different scenarios, and we play a lot of mini games, and then you're going to run into those scenarios that I just showed, right? You're going to run into the down by 3, down by 2. So yeah, definitely we play a lot of mini games as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Matthew, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, thanks. Just one more question. I was wondering, when you're creating or choosing a quick hitter, do you create based upon the skills your players have, or are there certain actions you like regardless of your personnel?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Probably lean more towards my personnel and who I have. But with 14 players, sometimes I can like a play, and then I can plug players into that situation. And definitely when we're practicing situations, there's some plays and actions that end up working in practice. There's some that we practice and don't work, and you kind of toss out. But I think the more you practice it, your players feel comfortable, they get confident running these things, and then it's always good when your point guard's like, hey, we should run this play. Remember this play that we just worked on in practice. So I think getting to that point always feels good when your players said, hey, we should run Bronco 3. Okay, let's run it. Okay, go ahead.
David, you're up next.
Kristen, awesome presentation. I'd like to ask, obviously this is something that you've been emphasizing, you brought to your program. Did you have to sell this to your coach, or was this something that she had already believed in? And if you did have to sell it to her, how'd you do that?
No, I don't think I had to sell to any of my, my bosses. Coach Faith was very supportive. I just like such a special situation. So we got to practice it a lot. Same with Coach Carr. And they kind of let me take the lead a little bit, go ahead, draw it up at the end of the game. When I'm drawing it up in practice, it works. And they have me draw it up at the end of the game. So I was fortunate enough to have some really good bosses that, gave me the reins a little bit at end of game situations.
Coach Yang?
Hey, KI, thank you so much for doing this again. It was awesome. Quick question. Do you take advantage of your defense if there's a player on the court with 2 fouls before the half and she's still in the game? Do you draw up a play to kind of attack her in a sense and hope she doesn't play defense, or you get a call on her?
Yeah, definitely we take that into consideration. I know a lot of times when, we have players with 2 fouls, we usually take them out in the first quarter. Depending on the time and score in the second quarter, we might put them back in if we need to. But yeah, we'll definitely look to run some sort of quick hitter at that player. Maybe if it's a post player, we're going to run a quick hitter to get them in a post up. If it's a guard, we could get them in an isolation play on the wing. So we definitely consider that when we're, looking at the box scores and we're saying, hey, coach, this girl has 2 fouls. She's still in the game. We've got to go at her.
And real quick, sorry, this is a bonus. AK, my bad. So, the question, everybody is always asking this question in basketball. Do you foul, do you foul a 3-point shooter or not 3-point shooter? Do you foul them if you're down 3 and, up 3 and then, or do you let it play out and go from there?
I think before when we couldn't advance the ball and when they couldn't, we leaned more towards that. We kind of got bit in the butt one time against BYU. We were up 3, I think, with about 5 seconds left, and they went full court and hit this heave of a 3, and we went to overtime, ended up losing in double overtime. So I think when they couldn't advance it, we would lean. Then right after that game, we started fouling. I think if they don't have timeouts and it's kind of lower in the clock, we would consider doing it. I think it's hard when we're up 3 and there's 4 seconds left because they're probably going into a shot quickly. So we might lean, more towards not fouling in that situation.
Last one, AK, sorry. Do you take into consideration fouling them above the free throw line too, making sure that they take the ball on the sidelines as opposed to the baseline? Do y'all look at that as well?
Yeah, definitely. We don't want them to get too far into their action or too far, under the basket, because then we're gonna, have to consider the baseline plays and, what defense we're gonna run on the baseline out of bounds versus, the sideline. So we definitely, take that into consideration as well.
Thank you.
I got one for you. In your 2-for-1 situation, what's like your time threshold? So, if it's, you got 42 seconds, that's enough time to get a 2-for-1, but what's that time threshold for you guys to say, hey, okay, either we're gonna wait or we're going 21?
Yeah, so it's probably right around that 45 seconds. We like to run fast in transition anyway, so I think that benefits us because it's not going to be some crazy bad shot if we're taking a quick shot out of transition, or as opposed to, I think if you're a setup team, maybe you need to consider that differently. But for us, we're right around that 45 seconds, probably going to cut it close, especially as you saw, the clock doesn't stop at the end of the quarter. So you saw against Cal, we kind of maybe would have gotten to a little tight situation, but Cal ended up taking a shot early enough for us to get that 2-for-1.
So my second question is, have you ever been in a situation where your best player is a poor free throw shooter? Let's say you're down 3 and your best player is a poor free throw shooter, but you need him on the court because he's leading the country in rebounding. How would you manage that situation?
Well, probably not give them the ball. I guess if they're not a great 3-point shooter, use them as a screener, and then hopefully, the other team's not fouling, before the ball comes in, or once the ball comes in, they're not fouling them. But I guess keep the ball out of their hands, and then hopefully, use them as, like you said, a rebounder to get us an extra possession. if we happen to miss that three.
All right, I got one more. Free throw box out. How much do you emphasize that in practice? Close game, you're at the line, you're up, you're up one and the other team's at the free throw line. I mean, how much do you emphasize free throw block out in practice? And conversely, offensively, is there anything that you guys do to practice trying to get offensive rebound if it's a late game situation?
Yeah, so we emphasize it a lot. I don't know if our associate head coach is on here, but Michael Floyd emphasizes that all the time. I think maybe because he's in charge of the bigs and they're usually down there rebounding. But it comes up obviously in situations, or we'll start our press segment with a free throw, and so we're emphasizing it then, the box outs. And then conversely on offense, yeah, we'll use an X play. I know at Cal Poly we use kind of a screening action down there where one would go quickly, we'd screen the opposite big, and that other big could come in free. We actually won a game at Hawaii when I was at Cal Poly. We're down 4 with about 12 seconds left with the ball, and we end up going to overtime and winning it because we get an and one off a layup, and then we use that free throw screening action. And we purposely missed. There was about 4 seconds left. We purposely missed the free throw, and we use that screening action down low, and we get the rebound. It kind of bounces around, gets to our point guard, and we end up hitting a shot at the buzzer. So definitely take time. We don't necessarily dedicate a certain amount of time to it, but we practice it throughout. When we're practicing situations, we emphasize it, or when we're in a press segment, we emphasize it as well.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions they want to ask Coach? No? All right. Coach Kristen, that was awesome. We greatly appreciate it. I'm definitely gonna reach out to you for some of those late game situation cards. At least for us in the men's game, we don't have a ton of sideline out of bounds. Which is interesting. I think we've maybe had 8 to 10 all year in 32 games last year. So, but I know that's something that we need to work on. And so, definitely want to pick your brain more on those situations. So, but if no one else has any questions, Coach, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having
taking
me.
time out of your schedule. So, Mahmoud, you ready? All right, you gotta unmute yourself, man.
Yeah,
So,
baby. Good job.
So it's funny. Yeah, I think we need a round of applause.
You did a great job. Honestly, it was great. You did a hell of a job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mahmoud, man, I've known him for about, I think, 8 years now, going back to Minnesota Gopher for basketball camp, and we've lost touch a little bit, but I'm so glad that he's doing this and he's on here. He's the current head coach of the Rio Grande Valley Vipers, first Palestinian Muslim head coach in the NBA or G League. That's a tremendous honor, I'm sure, for him. And prior to that, he was an assistant coach at St. Cloud State University in Minnesota, which is where I was able to meet you. And then before that, he was a assistant coach at a charter school and an AAU coach. So he's been everywhere. Former JUCO player, former Division II player at St. Cloud State. So a great player in his own right, and now a phenomenal head coach who again just worked his way up and has grinded. And so we're fortunate to have you today, Coach, and look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Appreciate you, my friend. Obviously, thank you guys, men and women. Kristen, great job once again. And obviously, Mike, a.k.a. Steve, thank you guys for having me. Just so everybody knows, obviously, I think I might have been in that first picture that Mike took about 7-8 years ago. I believe it was in Dallas or wherever it was. Steve Yang, I've known Steve in the Gophers camp. I believe it was with AK or the year before. And Steve Steve reached out and said, hey, you should come to this. So some of you I know are probably wondering, Palestine is not in Asia. Yes, it is. So you better do your research, do your geography, look it up, do all that. But honestly, I really appreciate it. So having me. Mike reached out and asked what I want to talk about. Honestly, I mean, you guys are familiar with, at least I hope you are, with Rockets do, how we play, the analytical side of things. I'm kind of going to talk about that a bit. Then I'm more going to talk about, my first year as a head coach as well, my learning experiences from the last 12 months, and then kind of just go from there. So I'm from Chicago, born and raised. I grew up there. I played junior college basketball at Wilburite Community College, which was located on the north side of Chicago. I was an All-American there coming out. I went to St. Cloud State University. That's where I got my bachelor's degree. I actually started coaching at the age of 19. For you all that are familiar, Division IIs cannot pay for summer school. So I would go back home during summer and I would coach with NLP AAU. So I did that. I was a student assistant my last year in 10-11 when I was finishing up my teaching degree. That's when I started to work camps. And I'm not sure the age range on here, but if there are any younger people looking to get into the game, told me when I started wanting to coach, you got to be able to network, and it's about working camps. There are two people that I was working with in camps that are assistants or GM in the NBA right now. I can tell you, there's nobody that when I was working the Gopher camp thought would be a head coach in the G. You just never know. But that also comes hand in hand with just treating people the right way. Never treat people based on their title, based on how they look. Always treat people with respect. Whether it's the GM, the owner, or the custodian, that helps you get in the building when things, go to hell, and they're the people that you got to go to. So I did that, and I went back to Chicago, coached AAU for 2 years in high school. Again, on top of that, then I went back to St. Cloud State from 13 to 17. I spent 4 years there as the part-time assistant coach. I was responsible for all recruiting. I recruited, I believe I signed over 22 kids in my 4 years. I signed every single kid that came there in my 4 years. I signed 2 All-Americans in my 4 years. In the 25 years before that, there were 2 All-Americans. So, yeah, you know how I do. So I did that. And then after that, I actually took an intern position in 17-18. I do have to tell you just a little, just so you guys all know, everyone, you're trying to work. Sometimes you think that things just don't work out the way it's supposed to be. Things always work out the way it's supposed to be. Maybe not the time you expect, but it always does. 17, I was supposed to get a Dobo position at a Division I school. I was already packing up. I was told by the staff that I was getting it, ready to leave. Next day, coach all of a sudden changes his mind. I don't get it. I end up getting a RGV intern position. I go down to Southern Texas. I was an intern 17-18. Our head coach is now an assistant with the Houston Rockets. The assistant at the time becomes the head coach. I move up to assistant. We win the G League championship in 2018-19 as an assistant coach. He becomes an assistant for the Philadelphia 76ers. That's who I was actually talking with before I stepped on here. And then I got moved up to head coach. So, I went from intern to head coach in 22 months. I mean, you can't plan that anyway. And honestly, I tell people when I look back at it, and you all know, I honestly still sometimes think like, damn, I guess I am the head coach. But it kind of just went, I was interviewing for the job. I was in training camp with the Rockets in Vegas. We were getting ready to go to Japan. And then I got the job. I signed it. Then I'm going down to RGV for training camp. So it's not like there was any time and point for celebration, as you guys know. And tell you from right now, if you're not prepared to be a head coach as an assistant, you're not going to be prepared when you get the job. So start preparing right now. Because when you get the head job, Mike can attest to it and how things change. You think you get time for film, time for this. That all goes out the window. All the stuff planned for, you got to waste weeks doing it. So I'm the head coach, and obviously now I'm here. Finished up my first season, and the G League was an unbelievable experience for me. The last 3 years, my basketball knowledge has gone through the roof. I've had the opportunity to, obviously, from Daryl Morey in the front office, who are number one probably in the world in analytics, and then Mike D'Antoni, who everybody wants to, kind of run their offense behind. And you see where the NBA has gone, the spacing. That's Mike D'Antoni stuff. There are a couple different wrinkles. As you guys know, everybody takes and steals. But the 7 seconds or less when he was with Phoenix, doing the same thing with James and Russ, and we're keeping the floor space. So, but what I kind of do, I'll kind of go through some of our offensive counts. Like I said, I don't want it to be more so of a basketball type of presentation. But if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Cut me off if I don't make sense, because I know some of this analytical stuff might make sense to me, not to you. So just feel free to ask any questions. Let me share the screen here. So we kind of went through this, just the background. Kind of went through the background already, so we'll kind of skip through that. All right, just going through our offensive principles. All right, the main 4 points that we like to stick to on our offensive principles, obviously number one is our great shot selection. We emphasize minimizing and limiting the number of non-paint twos that we take. We don't want to take non-paint twos. We want to get to the rim. We want to take threes. We want to get to the free throw line. That's our shot spectrum. Point B, we want to play with great pace. When I say I have a Q1 mindset, I'm not sure if some of you use it at the collegiate ranks, but we break up the shot clock in 6 seconds. So the first 6 seconds of the shot clock is quadrant one. That's our transition offense. The second 6 seconds is quadrant two, which is our early offense. The third quadrant, which is our third segment of 6 to 12 seconds, is our regular offense. And then the last 6 seconds will be late offense. So those are the 4 quadrants. And when I tell our guys that we want to play with a Q1 mindset, they understand what I'm saying is that we want to push pace. Whether it's a steal, off a miss, off a make, we want to make sure that we're pushing pace, we're setting the tempo on the offensive end. The next point, our great spacing allows opportunity for us to put pressure on the rim and get open threes. We don't post up. Like I said, we don't take non-paint twos. So when our guys are running the floor, we don't have guys standing at the elbows. We don't have guys standing on the block. We don't guys have at the mid-post. We have our corners filled. We have our wing filled. And then if we do play with a big, he'll fill the dunker spots as well to keep our spacing. But we want to make sure that we keep the floor spaced for driving lanes. As you see with what the Rockets are doing, with Russ driving to the rim, James getting to the rim. If it collapses, then we want to get out to the corner, get it out to the wing for open threes. And the last point is we want to play with 0.5 mentality. Some people say play off the catch. With 0.5 mentality, that means we don't want to play with any black holes. And when our guys catch a ball, we don't have anybody that gets sticky with the ball. When they catch it, they either got to shoot it, they got to drive it, they got to pass it. So that's what I mean by 0.5 mentality. So that's what we've been preaching ever since I've been in RGV. That's what the Houston Rockets preach. And trust me, I understand some of you are saying, well, James, all he does is go ISO. Relax. He's probably the most talented scorer ever. So you gotta adjust to your talent. So those are offensive principles. As you can see here, this is our spacing. This is probably 95, 100% of the time, unless somebody makes a mistake. This is where we should be spaced out to. We very rarely have anybody flash to the elbows unless it gets to the late shot clock, unless there's a double team in those situations. Then we may have somebody, obviously common sense, flash from the opposite wing, opposite corner, and, you know, obviously kind of make adjustments. Like Kristen was saying, you just got to be able to make adjustments during timeouts, at halftime, and those are the biggest things that we try to focus on. So number one, if you can see my mouse here, this is our primary spacing. We want our guards to bring the ball up the floor on the outer thirds. We want to leave the middle third of the floor for our big if he's in the trail. If our big is in front of the ball, then obviously you'll see he'll get to the dunk spot. We don't want the top of the key occupied so we can free up the lane for our guards. Either attack middle or he can attack baseline side. If the big was at the top of the key, obviously you guys know his defender will be at the nail and he'll clog up driving lanes for our guard. And then as you can see, here's the top one. If the corner was empty, anytime that we have an empty corner, say the 3 and the 4 are flowing into the same side and the 2 is running on the same side as well, we tell our guys to cut across the floor to fill the corner. We tell them just to stay spaced, and we tell the man that's bringing the ball up the floor to get to the deep corners. So we want a lot of our pick and rolls to happen about block extended. And as you can see once again, as you can see our spacing once again, our 2-man will be in the slot rather than the top of the key. So as the 1-man comes off, he has an opportunity for a rim attempt. He has the 5-man rolling. And then if the 2-man's defender decides to stop the ball, then it's an easy driving kick to the 2-man for. So as you guys know, the rules are different. Obviously in the NBA, there's a defense of 3 seconds. So that's one of the reasons why we prefer to have the deep pick and roll, because his defender either has to be in this area or outside here. They can't be sitting right here and defend 2. So that's the reason for our spacing. Does anybody have any questions? I believe my computer froze for a second or two. So if anybody has any, does anybody have any questions so far before I go on?
We got one, Coach. We got one. Lou, you want to go?
Yeah. Hey, Mahmoud. Quick question on your.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, alaikum salam. So have you guys calculated the points per possession on these like 3 options that you guys have in terms of setup? And if so, what's been the most fruitful?
Sure, that's a great question. So let me guys tell you something. Louis, I've known him for a little bit. He's a lot smarter than I can. I wish I had my analytics people here so I can ask him that question. That's what I usually do. But we don't focus on the spots in regards to our spacing. We focus more on the points per possession quadrants. So our transition, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So we'll determine our points per possession on those 4, and then the shot selection. Points per the free throw line, points per rim, points per possession from the corner 3, and so on. So those are things that are definitely communicated. We have an analytical person on staff. You know I do well. Obviously, the free throw is about 1.49 points per possession. Getting to the rim is about 1.31. The corner threes is about 1.1. Long threes is about 1.07. Paint, and then when you get to the paint 2s, non-paint 2s, those are our inefficient shots, and they start to get below per possession. The one guy, if you guys obviously watch the NBA as much as I do or just are interested, Chris Paul is literally possibly one of the few, him and Kevin Durant, only exceptions for the mid-range too. Chris Paul's the most efficient pick and roll player the last 5 years. So if you coaches want to show your players film and pick and roll, show them Chris Paul. Chris Paul shoots 55% from the mid-range too. So he's the one guy, as you know, when he played for us, he used to take those as well. So analytically, that made sense for what we were doing as well. So that's why we allowed him to take those mid-range twos. Great question, Lou. I hope I answered the question and didn't go off.
You did. Thank you.
You're welcome, Hamid. Anybody else have any questions?
I got one for you. So like, we run this, our secondary offense is called Phoenix, because of Coach D'Antoni. So like this top picture here, we call that action trips when there's three on that side.
Top left right here, okay?
Yep. So when there's three on this, we call this a fence. We have, terminology for everything. So this 3-man side's a fence. We have this low ball screen. I mean, so like when your guys there's a miss and you're running in transition, like, other than reading the floor, I mean, are you guys, yelling trips, or like this bottom left one, we call that a dice. The 5 out, we call it open. I mean, are you just letting them play?
Hey, thank you. Honestly, that's something, people always ask, can we collegiate level? And you'll see as I show you some film, some of the offensive concepts that get into this type of spacing. So we drill this with our guys, 3-on-0, 4-on-0, 5-on-0, in our player development. And we don't run offensive sets. We run concepts. Just play out of it. And that's something that I've spoken with multiple Division I programs, probably 7 or 8, that their coaches want them to come out and speak with their staff, and they're thinking about their offensive stuff and what they want to do, especially at the collegiate level. You have a player, men or women, for 4 years. If you can get a freshman that you think can be good as a freshman, and rather than calling out actions every time down the floor, and you give them the freedom to play in a pick and roll, 4 out, 1 in, 3 out, 2 in, 5 out, and they build and understand, or I have an empty corner, I'm getting to a deep pick and roll. I have corner filled, big in the dunker spot. I can either go DHO, big can come set a ball screen. I get an opportunity for a driving lane. If the big is in the tray, that means I can either throw it back to him and kind of get in our delay offense, or he can come set me a drag. It's going to be tough for a freshman. But can you imagine as a freshman, and especially playing against collegiate defenses, that they're so, I'm not going to say all of them, but as we know, a lot of them are robotic. Some coaches have been running the same stuff for 20 years, aren't going to change. So I believe it would help with recruiting. I believe it helps with player development. I believe it helps with a lot of that stuff. And nowadays as well, especially in the men's game when guys are looking to transfer or jump to the NBA or G League, you can tell them that you're running NBA offenses and you're developing them to become pros. I definitely think that simplifying it and just running concepts rather than the terminology, AK, I just let our guys go. The only time I'm really calling something is on a dead ball.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Coach,
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. You talked about those concepts. When you run that pick and roll deep in the corner, do you have any concepts for your off the ball guys? Are they running anything opposite?
Name was Eric.
Eric
Garcia. Yep.
Pop up on my. So our guys just stay spaced. We tell them just stay spaced. Do not cut for the most part. The only time on film that we decide to cut our guys, when this guy comes off the deep pick and roll, if the pass is made to the 2-man, it's automatic. When the ball is in the air, 4-man cutting to the basket. Because the way that the defense would be set up, obviously, as you know, 3X would probably be right here, 4X would be here, 2X would be right here. So as the pass is being made, if this guy's cutting through, he may draw 3X a step, he may draw 4X. So 2 will probably go with 1. So we're putting pressure on the rim, and we got the 3-man for a corner 3. Great question, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So I'll show you guys some film here that will kind of describe our spacing as well. All right, so as we're going through it, let me turn down this volume real quick. All right, so you can see Mike Frazier and William Howard. Mike has an opportunity. He can run down the middle of the lane if he wants. You know, typical 3-on-2 drill that a lot of coaches would have this guy just in the middle of the floor. But he spaces wide, and Mike's first few steps are out wide. All right, what that does, all right, that opens an opportunity. If B-Samp wants to drive to the middle, but it drags both defenders wide, and this guard that was going to be spaced in the slot, he sees the driving lane, gets an opportunity for a rim attempt. All right, here's another one. After a make, we are getting the ball out. All right, we're not specifying who's taking the ball out. Closest man, get the ball out. You can already see we got 2 of our best shooters at half court. Ball's already out. It's 1-on-1. This guy cannot help right here. He's got help. We give him up a 3. He stays attached, give him a rim attempt. Pick your poison. All right, so we got to make sure everybody in the corners has got to do their job as well, so the man with the ball can do his job effectively as well. All right, here we come. We're in the second quadrant. All right, so we just got our corners filled, opposite wing filled. All right, we're going to high pick and roll. As you see, sets his mid pick and roll right here. All right, now our guard's got to make the read. He has a single side tag. Does he have the lob? Does he have the shake man open? Does he have a rim attempt? All right, as you can see, there's no tag available. All right, we have an easy rim attempt right there. All right, same thing here. It's a quick drag. These guys do a great job of spacing right here. Eliminates the defender at the nail. Eliminates this man. He decides to help off strong side corner. All right, creates an open corner 3. Anytime, as you know, you're in the pick, when you have the ball and you're attacking the lane, you're looking to create a 2-on-1 situation. Whether it's a guy in the pick and roll or a guy off the ball. All right, in this situation, it happens to be him out of a younger brother. All right, so this is a 2-on-1, creates an open 3. All right, no way he can recover. All right, in this situation, same thing. He's coming off the drag. As you can see, Duncan Robinson is in the corner. He's guarding a shooter. All right, or he can tag on Chris Walker. Duncan Robinson decides not to tag, leaves open a wide open rim attempt for him. All right, here's the transition spacing with the dunker spot filled. You have James Harden bringing the ball up. You can see Nene is not running down the middle of the floor. He's in front of the ball, so he's going to fill the dunker spot. As he fills the lanes, you see Trevor Ariza gets to the corner. Joe Johnson gets to the wing. All right, it's an easy swing for a corner 3. If Joe Johnson happened to cut down the lane, baseline side, it would be an easy recover for Royce O'Neal. But we decided to keep the floor spaced, put a lot of guys in long closeout situations. As you know, that is the toughest closeout for a guy to guard. If they close out hard, we can play off the catch, and then we can get a 3 on the opposite side as well. So it's all about just keeping our spacing, playing off the catch with 0.5 mentality. All right, here's another one. Same thing. He's hugged over for a shooter, hugged over to a shooter. Easy rim attempt for Capella. I'll kind of just let these play. You can see the rim attempts and our spacing, how effective it is. All right, we get to the deep pick and roll right here. All right, deep pick and roll. All right, he's coming off. They're in a catch and a drop coverage right here. They're not blueing. You can see he's here at the nail where their 2 defenders are. All right, has an opportunity for a rim attempt because he's hugged over to his man and he's not in 2-9 position. Here's one more coverage. Now their defender decides to help. He gets off the nail and gets inside the. That's an easy drive and kick opportunity for Mike Frazier. It's an easy step into 3, and then you can see wingman is cutting through. So he either has a rim attempt, he has a corner 3. So that's our spacing. That's our transition offense. That's what we're looking to do. We're looking to push in the 4 quadrants. We're looking to get out and run. But the most important thing, like I said, our offensive principles, number 1, what shots are we taking? All right, we want to get to the free throw line. Best way to get to the free free throw line is attack the basket. All right. The best way to get threes is to attack the basket. Everybody talks about getting paint touches. We want to attack the basket, which means getting in the paint. The best threes to take are open, catch and shoot threes. So we want to get those corner threes and then long threes. So that's our spectrum. Those are our spacing, and those are our offensive principles. Does anybody have any questions on anything that I went over here? All right, good. All right, some of our offensive concepts, our motion offense. Once again, principles, fill the corners and wings. You know, we emphasize with our big about screening the lower third of the defender. We never want to allow the defender to go under any ball screens. All right, so we want to make sure that we force the on-ball defender over the top. All right, we want to create 2-on-1 situations. What I just talked about, obviously that will allow for more rim attempts and open threes, and we want to put pressure on the rim. We put pressure on the rim with our big rolling. We put pressure on the rim with our ball handler attacking the basket, and then we put pressure on the rim with our cutters from the wing.
He is the
as you can see here, some of our offensive concepts, and when we get into our spacing. All right, this is our pistol action. All right, so you can see we're still in our 5-out. The corner man flashed up to the corner to the catch spot. All right, he just chases it. As he chases it, he's coming over the top to the weak side slot. And then as you can see, we got into our spacing. We got a deep pick and roll. We have the slot. We have the wing. We have the corner field. And now we have a 2-on-1 situation with their 5-man. He either has a rim attempt or he has a lob. All right, here's another one. Now he's going to keep it. Instead of pitching it back to the guard, he's going to keep it. He comes off the big. You can see this angle right here forces him over the top. That was an excellent screening angle by Isaiah. Now he has multiple options. He has a 2-on-1 situation with this defender. He either has a lob or the shake man, or he has a 2-on-1 situation, all right, with this guy. You can see they came over to help from the strong side. It's an easy swing to catch and shoot three. Another concept of pistol is a step-up action. I will set the step-up to create a switch opportunity, space to the slot. Big comes to set this deep pick and roll. You can see, once again, the detail and concepts. These are all concepts they play out of. I'm not calling out any of these. They just have it based on what the defense is doing, once again, and try to help improve their basket IQ. Big is roll. We got a 2-on-1 situation with their 5-man rim attempt, or we got a dump off for a rim attempt. All right, here's another situation. Throw back to the big for the trail. All right, rim attempt, lob. We have all the spacing. All right, here's another concept that we run out of delay. All right, out of delay, we got multiple actions. If the 5-man is in the trail, these are one of the concepts that we will play out of. Our guard can throw it back to the big, and then we can play. He can screen up. He can screen down. We can play on the weak side. They just play out of it based on what the defense is doing. All right, nothing is there on the strong side. He goes weak side. All right, we got rim attempt, putting pressure on the rim with the cutter. All right, and then just the last slide. I just kind of going through our statistics and our advanced stats on what we use defensively, rim rate and finishing, defensive rebound percentage, and points in the post. Those are some of the analytics that we'll use going into the game. And then offensively, our 4 quadrants, our rim rate percentage, our offensive rebound percentage, and then our 3-point shooting percentage off the bounce. So those are some of the analytics that we will use going into the game, in the game, post-game, and those are some of the stuff that will help us, determine what are we working on in player development, what are we working on in practice, and so on. So, but, that's all with the presentation in regards to the basketball side of things. If anybody has any questions, feel free to throw anything out. If you have any questions on the G League, player development, I'm all ears. So feel free to ask any questions that you all have.
Well, I got one for you. On that low side ball screen, do you ever cut the nail guy to take that nail defender away?
No, we don't. We like
Just
to
space
keep
them.
it spaced. Yep, just keep it spaced to simplify it. Because you all know as coaches, a lot of the times, when guys screw up spacing is because they're cutting for the wrong time, or they're cutting at the wrong time. So we prefer our guys just to understand. Our guy with the ball knows he's going to have a roller, he's going to have a wing field, he's going to have a corner field. So he can throw the pass with his back to them and know that there's somebody going to be there. So we want to keep it spaced. We want to get, well, like I said, we want to put pressure on the rim with the ball, with the rollers, and then with the wing cutting, the middleman. So we understand. So those are kind of like what we're like straight to, we stick to those concepts.
I got you.
Hey, Coach, I have a question.
Go ahead, Peter.
So I know you kind of spoke upon how you like to teach concepts in terms of just a free-flowing and kind of reacting, letting your players react. But how important are the defensive schemes for you, like in terms of prepping? And, for instance, a big would know to slip if, you're scouting that the team's going to be switching on you guys and so forth.
No,
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. First off, I don't care about defense. Did we talk about any defense, Peter? Come on, man. No, we definitely, and I'll tell you one thing that I really enjoy about the G League. So we switch 1 through 5 with everything, Peter. So one of the things that a lot of teams will try to do is switch against us. Obviously, as you know, the biggest thing to attack switches, slips, flipping screens, angles of screens. Some teams will try to post this up. But our guys, when they're going into defensively, we switch everything, Peter, 1 through 5. Teams try to post us up. They may have a quicker point big. We're going to trust it going into analytically. A post up, give or take, guys, is 1 more shots efficiently. It produces about less than 0.82 points per possession. And ISO, based on, once again, who is there, unless it's James or Russ, who are, some of the greatest in the game. But at the G League level, especially at the NBA level, it's very rare that you're going to have such an elite player that's going to be able to kill you in ISO situations. So, defensively, like I said, we'll switch 1 through 5. No matter what the team is doing, if they're shooters, if they post up heavy, they run a lot of pick and roll. They run the flex. They run a lot of stuff out of horns. We have our same concepts: side pick and roll, flat pick and roll, flat ball screen, sit downs, staggers. We cover back screens, how we cover flexes. That's what we work on in training. That's why I absolutely love it, because it has how to guard all types of screens, whether it happens out of 3, 4 out, 1 in, or 5 out. You know how to guard those types of screens out of any types of actions. I hope I answered your question, Peter.
Yeah, you kind of did. I might have articulated poorly, but I kind of meant, do you let your players know that, hey, this opposing team is going to be playing this type of defensive scheme, or is there a fine line between too much detail
How we're going to attack them offensively? Peter, are you there?
Yeah. Yep.
Got it. So how we're going to attack them offensively?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely. I'll go over it with our point guards. So I bring in my 3 point guards before the game, and I go over our top 5 plays that we want to run after free throws and after dead balls. Because once again, I want them to be able, as basketball players, I want them to have to look at me, dead ball every time out, every time. So I'll go over it with them, the 5 main plays, and I'll show them how the 3 different bigs, usually they have 3 bigs on their roster, how they will guard the pick and roll. I say, hey, this is how they're going to guard it. They may be coverage. On the side, there'll be an ice or a blue. The pick and roll, be prepared for a. So they all know, once again, go back to player development, our concepts, they all know how to stuff, because that's work on our offense. We're not working on actions.
Okay. And then sorry guys, I'm hogging this, but and you kind of said that most teams switch on you guys now, correct? Is that true?
A lot of teams will switch 1 through 4. They will drop the 5-man back, but a lot of teams will have at least 1 or 2 groups in the game that.
Okay. And so, yeah, I wanted to piggyback on that. Why is it that I see a lot of drop coverages nowadays? Why is it that, I remember in 2015, 2016, there was a lot more scramble type defensive schemes where there was rotating, maybe like a push, a slight push hedge on the ball screen. Do you think that's because teams are just too good of shooters now, or can you kind of talk a little bit about what you've seen in terms of the transition in the defensive schemes?
For sure. Peter, so can I ask you, why do you think it's changed?
Well, like I said, I think back in the day, the 4s were obviously a bit too.
Just so you know, back in the days, not 4 years ago. Come on, man.
It seems like back in the day for me. But I just feel like
with it, baby.
I feel like teams are too good at shooting now, so you can't really scramble, if that makes any sense.
For sure. No, I definitely So the biggest difference, as you know, is analytics. So teams obviously understand that one of the most efficient shots are the mid-range 2. As you guys can see, the Milwaukee Bucks, that's why they can with playing Brook Lopez, Robin Lopez at the 5, and they fight over the top of all ball screens, obviously, unless playing against somebody that couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. But they just want to send them over the top. If you want to shoot the mid-range 2, go ahead, but they don't want to give up a pull-up 3. They want to send you into either a floater over a 7'2" guy, or you're going to shoot a non-paint 2. That is by far, Peter. That is the big reason why, is because the analytical aspect, took over and people really understand what shots are more efficient. And coming to the example, you can see Brook Lopez became a stretch 5 more than a post-up when he used to post up all the time with Brooklyn, is because that's where the game was headed. He can post up and score 20, but if you go 10 for 20, in the post, and like if you guys saw our game yesterday and James Harden goes 8 for 16 from 3, I'm taking 8 for 16 from 3, buddy.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Coach.
That's a great question. Thank you, Peter. You're making me think right now. I was ready to take a nap. God bless.
I actually have – sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, me? Okay, thanks. First of all, as always, I just want to give my appreciation to you, Coach Mahmoud, and ACA. No, thank you very much. It's definitely a blessing. Yeah. Okay. So my question was in regards to also, because you break down the game so much and you analyze the game into the numbers detail. During a player's dribble penetration, and this is a 2-part question, do you usually look for, a jump stop or a pro hop, or like a 1-2 step into maybe a jump pass, or foot on the floor while you pass? Do you break it down to like the detailed numbers, like how much turnovers you get off this, how much points you score off this, down to the point that you have to, pro hop or, 1-2 step? You know what I'm saying?
For sure. No, of course. That's a great question. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we do, we emphasize everything that we off of rim attempts is off a single leg. I'll probably tell you probably 10% of our layups were probably off 2 feet, but everything's off single leg. And that is the points per possession. I believe the difference is about 0.27, if I'm not mistaken, between 2 feet and 1. And there are examples, and you can see, especially at our level, if you go up with 1 foot, and that's why a lot of guys go up, left foot, left hand, they got to get it up quick, because if you jump off 2 feet, your shot is probably getting blocked. It's allowing that defender to come over and block that shot. So what we do, we really work on single leg finishes. We don't work on pro hops. We don't work on pivots, coming to a jump stop. We simplify it, go off single leg. But there will be some times where we get to like driving kicks, and pass it into our pass. But we do not work on jump stops. We do not work on pro hops. But if they do it, you're going to do that in your own time. They're going to do that in their own time. And if it doesn't work, you may be coming to grab a seat next to me, buddy.
How about sorry, the second part of my question, for shooters, for example, Steve Kerr back in the day, he got a shot of more, against the more athletic players compared to Al Horford when they went to the NBA. Do you prefer coming off, like a stagger or a pin down, like a 1-2 hop or a 1-2 shot?
That's a great question. Now, Peter, did you hear my man say back in the day? Now, Steve Kerr is back in the day, Peter. Get with it.
Yeah, I heard that.
No, great question. So I honestly prefer what I will do, especially at this level, is that it depends how good of a shooter that we're working with. If a guy struggled to shoot in college, we may tweak a few things. But if he's a good shooter coming to us, we're going to work with him on what he does and try to just, make him really good. I mean, we have guys that shoot off too. We guys that will always into it as they come off, both ways. We have guys that when the ball is coming from the right side, they may have a left foot pivot and a right foot pivot. We may have a guy that's only good with one pivot. So we kind of just work with whatever our guys are good at, and we just kind of build from there.
Great. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
David had a question. Yeah, David had a question for you.
Hey, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, my brother.
Mahmoud, back in the day, I don't believe you went to junior college because what you just talked about blew my mind. I have no idea what you're talking about with all these percentages and all these little points. With that being said, I'm not sure how fluid your roster is year in, year out, but can you talk about the teaching and the learning of this with new guys every year and how long it takes to implement this system and this philosophy?
For sure. No, definitely. Great question. So I hope you guys are familiar with the Islamic religion. We pray in the morning, and so I pray every morning that God give me a consistent roster just for 2 days. Just for 2 days.
How do you teach that? If you got new guys every week, how are you teaching guys these things?
Honestly, I will tell you. So I will tell you. So as an assistant, so when we won the G League championship last year, we had 27 different players. Now, just think about this. I don't know how many head coaches on here, but think about how many of your head coaches would lose their mind when one rotation player sit out. I had my same lineup this year for 6 games out of 42. I'm thankful. I'm not mad. I'm thankful. So we bring them in and we tell them from the first part. So I break it down into 3 aspects. So we watch film with them. First and most important, I tell them, hey, don't you ever post up. Don't ever stand inside the 3. Plain, seriously, honestly, I tell them, if you get lost, just get outside the 3-point until you get familiar with the system. There's no reason that you should be standing inside the 3. Obviously, the 5-man can get to the dunker, but majority, it's like just get outside the 3. We watch film with them. Secondly, we go on the floor with them, and we do 3-on-0 actions just with our spacing. So we go through our pistol action, we go through our delay action, just of them getting to the corner. I'm getting to the wing and then the slot. So that's how we progress it then. After we're done on the floor, Davin, we bring them back into the office. We'll go over with them again with film. And I'll kind of stop the film and I'll talk to them about asking them, what do you think we're going to do here? To kind of get their mind thinking so they can kind of get used to like they're in the game. They'll go through that, and then I personally have them draw up the plays. So their first day with me is about an hour and 15 to hour and 30 minutes, just of all that. The second day, when they're there, they have to be on the floor 30 minutes before body. They have a film session and then an on-court session again. So consecutive 2 days before they join the team, they're doing 3-on-0 twice, 3 film sessions, and they're drawing up the play. So then they just continue to progress from there. And it honestly takes about 3 days for the guys to start picking up our concept. Facing, they pick it up right away. Because for me, I tell them, if you shoot a mid-range 2, you get subbed out the game. If you post up, you get subbed out the game. So there's no reason for you that you should stand there. And when you guys take a mid-range 2, and they say, Coach, but, I'm just you. I say, I understand. So I'm subbing you out so you can learn from the other coaches and players on what you don't do. So that's what I do. God bless. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thanks, man.
Hey, Mahmoud, if I may, a couple, just 2 quick questions. First question, do you think these concepts and this style of play can work if you have a roster full of non-shooters? And number 2, what do you think the next evolution of the game of basketball is 10, 20 years from now? Yeah. Appreciate your time, by the way. Appreciate you sharing this.
No doubt. First off, number 1, hell to the no. I honestly do think that you can run it with non-shooters. If you have 5 guys, it's obviously going to be a little more difficult. Defense is going to be able to sag in, but now once again for us it's different because there's defense at 3 seconds. At the collegiate ranks, it might be a little more difficult because everyone can just sit in the paint. For us, they can't. They got to go back and forth. They got to space out. Now, if you had 5 non-shooters, yeah, then you got a problem. Then, obviously, there have been times where you have 3 non-shooters, for sure. I'd say at least 1 non-shooter or 2 shooters, you can definitely make it work. The next 10, 20 years, I'll tell you, and I would love some feedback from all of you. Who knows? I've been, honestly, because everyone always says, hey, what's the next best thing? What can you come up with? Because that's what will get you jobs. But, a lot of coaches are scared to try new things. And personally, I love the 5-guard action. I don't see why people don't play. Why can't you, like the Los Angeles Lakers? Why can't you play 4 bigs? 4 bigs and LeBron. Put JaVale, Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, and give me another big. Why wouldn't you do that? I'm going to beat you up on the offensive glass. So it's kind of like just pick your poison. But I honestly think that at the end of the day that the game will go back to kind of having a traditional 5-man, having a stretch 4. But I would personally love to just have, just like we're doing, honestly, in Houston, 5 guards. But you have to have, like we have a PJ Tucker, Draymond Green. If you have a guy that is that versatile, you are I'd play this way any day of the week. So thank you. That's a great question. Anybody else have any more questions or anything?
I know Steve does.
Hey man, Mahmoud, man, I just like to let these viewers and listeners kind of ask theirs and kind of step back a little bit and listen. But I do want to ask you a question, man. I want to thank you first and foremost, man. I know we go way back, and just to see you grow, man, it's just amazing and a blessing.
Brother.
and seeing it front row seats right here is it's an honor. And thank you for your time. You and Ki, man, you guys are great. You especially, taking the time to do this, and just our friendship has gone a long way, and that to me means a lot. But your growth, I mean, we're talking X's and O's and all that, but I want to ask about your growth about this, because like I said, you went within 20 something months and you went from one seat to the other that quick. How do you handle things? Not just that, but your outside life, and then all the people around you, so if you can kind of talk about that a little bit, that'd be great to hear.
No, I appreciate it, Steve. Honestly, that's something, and I know a lot of you don't know me as well as Gavin, Mike, Steve, AK. But you can sense, this is who I am all the time. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm energetic. I'm not the coach that when I lose the game, I'm going to go cry me a river and go back to my hotel room. That dinner after a win, after a loss is going to taste just as good. I truly believe that you can learn just as much from a win, just as much as you can from a loss. What determines if it's a loss or a win is that, what do you learn from it? If you win, you don't prepare, and you think things are going to be cool, it's probably because you can go into a losing streak just like that, as some of you know. But if you lost the game and you are willing to make adjustments, it's easy. But I'll tell you, Steve, thank you for asking that question. But I'm a devout Muslim. That's who I am. It shaped who I am. I stick to it. Everybody in the Houston Rockets organization knows that. They're one of the best organizations for, as you all know, in the climate that we grow up in. Sometimes things just aren't accepted. It doesn't have to be said. At the end of the day, we know that what people think. And sometimes people may give you the look. Sometimes people may, say mark, but they accepted me with open arms. And I don't do anything, Steve. I promise. I literally spend my time at the arena. I go to the mosque to pray 3-4 times. That's all I do. I don't do anything outside of basketball. I have no kids, and I enjoy it. I just others. I enjoy just being around people, checking on others, and just learning the relationships that I've built have helped me grow in the game of basketball. Because, as you know, and at this level especially, who cares what the hell you know? Because when you know, Louis asked me, I can come up with the best offense. Okay, nobody's seen it. In 2 weeks, everybody's going to be running it. So what does that mean? But if guys are going to run through the wall for me, will set the screen. Like Ki said, they will execute my end of game. If they hate you and think you're a douchebag, they're going to let that defender through the screen or let them through that elevator screen. Plain and simple. Steve has shaped me who I am, becoming the coach who I am. At the age of 31, being a head coach. At the age of 29, I was a part-time assistant. I've never had a full-time job until last year. I was happy with who I was just because of my faith. And I tell some of the younger people that are growing up, and I have people that work for me now saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, chill out, bro. You're 24 years old. Like when I was an intern, I was doing laundry, player development, scouting reports. All you have to do is rebound. Shut your mouth and get to the office. But it's just about being smart, especially at this level. Because there are guys, as you know, that make 100,000 times more than maybe I'll ever make. So how do you get those guys to buy in? You're not trying to be their friend. They want to know what you know about their game, and they want to know if you care about them. They will call you out on certain aspects to test your knowledge, to test how strong you are. If you back down, that may lose respect. So James will do it. House will do it. Daniel House will do it. I've been in situations, trust me. First week as an intern in RGV, I got mother effed. I was like, I might need to go back to St. Cloud State, baby. So it just depends how you deal with those situations. But just the faith in who I am like honestly gave me that kind of gave me the like to stand on the backbone. And, but that's I can't go too. I mean, I can talk for hours on this, honestly. But it's my faith, just in true belief. And Steve, like I said, you guys know I haven't changed when I was working camps to now. My energy's the same. My like who I am outside the court's the same. I don't drink. Stick to who you are. God bless.
I agree, man. And you know what? It's easy to like you. I was telling a friend of mine, and I said, you can never find this guy upset. And this guy is always happy and energetic, and you could tell that he stays positive at all times. So, man, I thank you so much for everything, man. Go ahead, AK. I'm sorry.
Appreciate it, Steve. Thanks, brother.
Oh, that's. Does anybody else have any questions? Because if not, I think that's the perfect closing to this last session. I mean, what an honor it's been to.
I have a quote that I just saw 3 days ago. I don't care if you like, I absolutely love it, and I'm going to share it with you. Anytime, because I'll tell you the one thing that a lot of us coaches struggle. You can act fake, you can act tough, as everybody struggles with it. A lot of coaches that like just in the game, people tend to talk behind others' backs. Whether it's recruiting, whether it's coaching, try to move up at any level. You just have to stick with who you are. But the quote that I saw was, lions do not lose sleep over the opinions of sheep, from sheep. Lions do not lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. Be lions, baby. Be lions. Hey, if anybody, I don't know, AK, if they have my email contact. If anybody wants it, I'll kind of put it in chat real quick. Email me, text me. I'm not going to be that guy that says, hit me up and I'll get whatever you need. Keep it 100. You may text me and it may take me a little time to get back to you, but I will do my best to get back to you. So email me, text me, then we'll kind of go from there.
Awesome. No, thank you, man. And KI, Mahmoud, you guys any other closing remarks before we turn this over to Steve? And if not, it's okay. Steve, take it away, my man.
Hey, man. Thank you guys so much, man. This is awesome. It's been an amazing, help me out. How many weeks have it been? 11, 12 weeks or something like that? And I felt like it just started. And we want to keep this rolling. It's just that, in the college world, we're working on everybody getting back to campus. I think so. We're not at Georgetown, but I know some schools are. So we want to kind of be respectful of everybody's time and consideration of that stuff. So we're going to take a few weeks off. I do want to let you guys know that we will be trying to keep the whole world out there updated through our social media, on Twitter and on our Instagram. There you go. And if you guys missed any YouTube, any sessions, go to our YouTube channel. And Asian Coaches Association, just kind of type that in the search. You'll find us. It'll give us it'll give you a little bit of information on what we've done before and how it works. I've talked to Pat Chung. Thank you so much, Pat, for jumping on earlier. And we'll work on some things with him and some of his connects, and stay tuned and stay connected with us regarding that. But I do want to, big shout out to AK. Thank you so much for taking the time to moderate this. Mahmoud, my brother, I love seeing your growth, man. Like I said earlier, man, you back in camp days, we were just hanging out, two young guys just enjoying life and having fun, and here we are now. So I love to see your journey and what's ahead of you in the next 22 months. You got the head jobber, so I don't know what's gonna happen the next 22 months, right? So we'll see. Mike D'Antoni, be careful, brother. No, but thank you so much, man. This is awesome. KI, you are great. Love our friendship that we've had over the years, and looking forward for the future of our friendship. And thank you for your support as well. and best of luck out there in the West Coast. And everybody else, man, this has been great. Behalf of Mike, man, Mike and I and G, Garrett, the man, Garrett, we thank you so much for helping us out with this. Like, if you guys don't know Garrett, he's the guy that puts us all together. The Zoom calls, just everything. That little pop up. I mean, Garrett's the man. So I know he's at San Francisco, but anybody out there, head coaches or anybody who knows, I know he's out there probably be looking for a job in the next few years. So give him a shout out too. But if anybody have any questions and you guys are just sitting around the next few weeks and just need to reach out to us, I'm going to drop my information here on the chat. Feel free to reach out to me, and then I'll be more than happy to help you out and get y'all connected. That's my email. That's my cell, and then my email here. I'll do what I can to help you guys out as well. But you guys, man, thank you again for everything. This means a lot. I want you guys to please be safe out there. Be smart. Practice your social distancing. Support the NBA, WNBA. Watch some basketballs. And if you get bored, jump on the YouTube and watch our previous weeks. And like I said, thank you guys, and have a great day. God bless.